giving you useful and practical tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel podcast, and here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Okay, guys, you are in for a treat today. I am joined by Stephanie Gries from Travefy. Welcome, welcome.
Woo! Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to get into a project that we're working on together at the end. So yes, we are going to do a little bit of a cliffhanger here. You guys got to stick around to find out what that's all about. But I really wanted to talk about what is Travefy. It was something that in my own travel business, I didn't really have until the later years and that sort of thing. And I don't want other people to go through that. So in today's episode, we're going to chat about what is Travefy, is it right for your business, and what are some of the ways in which you can use it to grow your business. So let's just do kind of the cliff notes. What is Travefy?
Oh, yes. What is Travefy? Well, it is an amazing software tool. So it's a software tool that we've created for travel professionals. And there's a lot of things you can do. So I always say our bread and butter, itinerary builders. So a lot of people listening probably are familiar with Travefy being an itinerary builder. And you can create proposals and just really just look professional, really stand out. And we also have like the mobile app that the clients can use, and they can get flight updates on that, view their itinerary on the go. So it's really just at the end of the day, making you look super professional. And also saving you time though, too, because we do have a lot of integrations built in that help make it easy to bring things in. You can, of course, also add all of your own flair if you want to add like your own photos, notes, all that good stuff, which is really cool. But what's really neat about Travefy is with the feedback that we hear and we see from agents just over the past like 5 years, technology in the travel industry has really been changing, and it's amazing and cool to just grow with those changes. And so we've started adding more components into Travefy to help it become kind of an all-in-one tool for your business. So we added a light CRM. So it's a really simple CRM where you can save, your client contact information, save documents in there. You can create forms as well. So you can create forms and, collecting any type of information you need, whether it's a new traveler inquiry, we have credit card authorization, all kinds of stuff. And those all pretty much work together with that CRM. And then one of my favorite things too that we released was the website and landing page builder, which we refer to it now. We just recently changed it because we changed the area that you can find it in. It's called Pages. And why I love it is because it's a marketing tool. So even if you already have a website, you can still use this website builder to create landing pages to gather, marketing, push out promotions, or, highlight trips, or a lot of people use it for like group trips, or really the sky is the limit when it comes to it. So it's really cool. And it's just amazing because it truly is just this all-in-one tool that you can use from the marketing stage to the proposal to the actually building the itinerary, staying in touch with your clients, and all of that all the way through the end. And then we also did just release invoicing as well. So now you can collect payments for like planning fees, service fees too. So a lot of things, a lot all-in-one tool in that.
Well, in the travel industry, we love a good all-in-one.
Right.
So I got a bunch of questions. We're going to hope that they all stick in my brain until the end. But
Perfect.
The one that just caught me right at the end there was about service fees, because I see this in all the different chat groups and things like that. Can they actually process it through you, or is there like a third-party integration with Stripe or Square or somebody else like that? How does that part work?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because that's where a lot of confusion comes from too with that. And we use Stripe. So currently Stripe is the only provider that we're working with right now. And I should note too that we are completely PCI compliant, like when it comes to credit card authorization, but we don't touch anything. So what's great about that is that there's no processing fee with us. So we don't have a fee for you to use this tool. The only fee that you're using is the Stripe processing fee, which I think it's 2.3%, which it's a very normal processing fee rate, but it's easy. And so when you go into your Travefy account, you can actually just go into your invoicing area, and it's really simple on our end because we're just making it so you can create the invoice and send it out, but then you really handle everything else through Stripe and getting paid through them and setting up your bank account, all that good stuff. So it's easy. It's an easy process, which is pretty cool.
That's great. And I do just, I'm going to chase a squirrel for a quick second here. When you are in business, there are expenses that come along with that. Processing a credit card is definitely one of those. Whether you're going to a local restaurant, going to the mechanic shop, whatever it is, if you were processing a credit card or a debit card or anything like that, there is in fact fees associated with that. And so it's not that Stripe or, and of course, by proxy, Travefy gets blamed. But, there is going to be a fee associated with that. That's what I call the cost of doing business. So if you charge a $250 service fee because you want to make $250, you need to figure out what that extra bit is. And maybe you're going to charge an extra $10 because that's what's going to cover it. So instead your service fee becomes $260 or $265. I'm not mathing well this morning. But that's, take my word for it. We're in that neighborhood. But the thing is that is simply the cost of doing business. You're not going to get away from fees. If somebody tells you there is absolutely zero fees, I'm going to tell you to run fast because somebody's hid something somewheres.
Yep, that's a really good point. Yeah, it really is. And the nice thing, and that's also why we chose Stripe, because we actually use Stripe we've always used Stripe for our processing on our end for like subscription payments. And so we know it's really good, reliable, but it's also that processing fee is nothing outrageous and it's very normal in the industry. So it's a good thing.
Awesome. And hashtag not a sponsored ad for Stripe.
Exactly.
Stripe's where I process all of mine as well. It's clean, it's slick, it's easy. I have multiple channels depending what part of my business is that I'm processing on, things like that. It's all just slick and easy. So I love the fact that you're able to help process those fees, make it a more seamless process, things like that. Now, you mentioned for group, you can create a landing page. Now, is that just to create the itinerary? Or if they have people, they put out this group, and whether it's a destination wedding or it's a trip to Africa or whatever, are people able to kind of register or get connected on that? How does that part work?
Yes. And that's what I think has been one of the coolest parts about this tool is when you are doing like a group trip. So basically what you can do, so you can still create your group trip itinerary. So, and we have some tools built within the itinerary builder where it makes it easy to manage group trips. So there's things like tagging. So you can create one itinerary for everybody, but then tag them in their specific things like flights, stuff like that. So you can still create that, but then you can create a landing page that looks really cool, has your branding, but then it's kind of just the go-to for everybody. But what you can also do is you can import your itinerary on there. So if you want to create like a basic itinerary of what it looks like, you can import that. But the best part is like what you were asking is you can import a form. So what's really cool is, again, you can create these forms in Travefy to ask like any type of information you need. And then you can actually just import it into as a button into the web page anywhere you want. So that's what a lot of people do. They'll make it very simple. You just might have a hero, some graphics, and then you might have some information about it. And then, you're at the call to action, are you interested, RSVP or start getting started, all that good stuff. So it's really cool. And I can share too some we do have some example templates that people can look at too. That's really cool just to get an idea of how it can look.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we put that into the show notes. I'll attach a couple of links for that so that they can go in and have a look. And yeah, I love that they can do that form that they can kind of connect on because, whether you're done a destination wedding or whether you're doing a corporate group where they're just going to send it out and you need all that information collected, you need all those names per passport. You don't want to do 37 phone calls or whatever it is, or do 37 emails out. It's so much nicer when you can just give them a landing page to go to and say, here's this. Now, I'm going to chase another squirrel here. This is the coach in me. That works for a predetermined group. Again, destination wedding, corporate group. They're going to join you on this cruise group that you've booked out, something very specific. I am not a fan of using forms as an intake for clients that are brand new to you that you don't know what they're going to be doing. So I'm sure Travefy makes them. So we're going to veer a little bit off the Travefy at the moment, but it is so crystal clear important that you're building those connections with your clients, because if you're just plunking things in, you're treating your clients like they're an algorithm. And so if you're going to treat them like an algorithm, they're going to treat you like an algorithm. And guess what? Google is a much faster algorithm than you are in response. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to build that relationship and make that connection. So be very, very cautious of how you use intake forms. I get it. It can make it so much easier, make it just slide right off that I'm going to get all this information. The other little tip to that is the fact that nobody knows how to fill out those forms. A great example, this morning, I got to be interviewed by a new family doctor because that's how it works here. We have so few doctors that they interview their patients to decide whether or not you get to be their patient. I've never been so stressed out in my life. Like, they had to do my blood pressure twice because when they did it the first time, I'm like, I don't have high blood pressure. That's wrong. So, but he's like, maybe you're nervous because of the interview. I'm like, yeah, I am, because if I don't get a family doctor, I don't know when my next opportunity is going to be. But the thing is, though, is that when we went through, he said to me, he's like, okay, now, did you fill out your form correctly? I'm like, yeah. He's like, because if you become my patient, this is what I will be referring to. And I need to know that you did this right. I'm like, can I look at my answers again? Because they had special parameters. Have you experienced this in the last month? So then I found myself having to qualify what I had told him and like what I put on the form. And, there was an anxiety in how I filled out a medical history form, because even though I technically should have all the answers, I didn't know with what context. That's how consumers feel when they're filling out a form. They're like, if I put this down, are they going to judge me? I actually did a post on my personal Instagram today. I'm like, so in order to be selected as a patient, do you need to have lots of medical conditions so he makes lots of money, or no medical conditions so he can have more pay? Like, can somebody tell me what the right answer is so I can pass this test? Like, it was the craziest thing.
I'm like, is it if you have too much? Oh, that is so wild.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
When he told me I could be his patient, he tested my blood pressure again and it was back to normal.
And you're like, okay, good. There we go.
But I'm like, finding out whether or not I get to have a doctor should not increase your blood pressure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a very important reminder.
Right?
Forms are important.
But that's just it. Forms stress people out. People don't know how to answer that. If they put down that their budget's 10,000, are they going to worry that you think that's too much or too little or too whatever? And instead you're like, ooh, their budget's 10,000. Maybe the trip they want is a $50,000 trip. Maybe the trip they want is $1,000 trip. Who knows? They have no parameter, especially if they haven't done boatloads of research. And here's the deal. If they've done boatloads of research, odds are good they might not need you. So you want to make sure that you are building that conversation, that connection, and building that authority outside of a form. Get the intake form so that you know how to contact them and you can get that first appointment set up. Definitely, hands down, great use of form, but don't do it for all the other questions. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that was my little soapbox for the day.
Love it.
So I want to talk about some of the legacy functions of Travefy. These were always some of my favorites. Of course, the fact that you can have all the itinerary on there, that's amazing. And you can even go in, like you were saying, you can upload your own photos. So you can actually customize. And so you could put in photos of the hotel, or you could put in photos of something that they might see on that particular excursion, or maybe you've selected a special restaurant. Use the photo section to put in the menu for the restaurant. Mm-hmm. There's so many different sorts of things with that. And then what I love about Travefy is that itinerary can be downloaded as an app so that they have it on the go, so that they see that. But in the messaging, or in that, like you were saying earlier, they get to see the flight changes. And mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but flight delays and cancellation, those are for other people. That never, right?
Yeah. Never happens.
Never. But my absolute favorite part of it is that so long as your clients are on Wi-Fi and they get those updates, they can direct message you in the exact same spot that they're getting notification. One, you can get that notification at the same time, and then they can message with you. I think that was my favorite part, because sometimes I would shut off all the other features on my phone because I kind of still want to have a life, but I would leave my Travefy app I would allow it to push through when I knew I had clients traveling, especially different places. So there were certain times I would allow that Travefy app to push through because I knew that's how my clients could reach me. And I didn't have to give out a personal number. They had an office number. They had the ways that I professionally connect with people. And they didn't need to kind of cross over into my personal world because of the fact that I had the Travefy app.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that's what we've heard such amazing stories about, just offering, that white glove service, because, you'll get notified too, as you were saying. And so you can just quickly send them a text from your phone, message in the app and just say, hey, I saw your flight's delayed. Everything looks like, it's still okay. But if you have questions, let me know, or, anything. So you can follow along. And then the other cool thing is sometimes I've seen people do like a bon voyage message. So, and you can actually set up reminders for yourself in Travefy, and you could create that as a reminder. So you can say like, oh, they're leaving today, I'm going to send them a message in there. So then they also know like, okay, this is where I can go to start contacting, the agent and all that. So it's really awesome. It's really cool. But I will note though, that if you ever don't want to use it, you can turn messaging off, and you can turn it off without turning like the flight updates. So, if anyone does have a process that they use, but it's pretty game changing in that way, honestly.
And it's fantastic. I remember once, I was actually traveling as well. And my client, I was seeing flight delays coming up constantly. And then she messaged me and she said, the airline just told me we can't do this. So all through the Travefy app, I was able to walk her through the process of what to do in a delay, what to do, what to ask for from the airline, and this, that, the other. And then once we finally got them booked, because then the airline's like, well, we'll get you home at this hour and we'll get your husband home 4 hours later. It was the middle of winter. Nobody wants to wait around an airport for 4 hours I'm like, no, you do not. And so I was able to walk them all the way through it. I was able to do all that. And then I said to them, you need to go to this, premium lounge and just go relax, get out of the airport noise. And so it was able to, in real time, without them having to have my cell phone number, without them being, I was able to walk them all the way through it. And at the same time, we were able to kind of keep that conversation flowing with flight updates and things like that coming through on the constant sort of thing.
That's super cool.
So those are some of the things that I love about Travefy. Again, the itinerary. Now, it's been a number of years since I've looked at that aspect, but you can still print out a PDF or whatever of the itinerary, can't you?
Yeah, yep. You can still get a PDF. And so your client actually has the option too. So when you send the itinerary to them, they can download the app, or they can just view it on the web, or they can get a PDF. Which is nice, because I know, especially, I feel like I even still need to do that sometimes, just if you are going to be, with limited access to internet and everything, which, by the way, on the mobile app, you can turn it like, so it saves it offline. So that way it'll save all the information. So you can still access it, but having a paper copy sometimes just feels very secure.
Right. And there are also clients of a certain generation that only want the paper copy. Then there's clients of my brain who needs paper, digital, three backup copies, digital on another device. When I travel for myself, it is a hot mess. When I would help other people, we were all good. Things were smooth. I am like the worst client for myself ever.
You're just always putting clients first. That's right. Why. Yeah.
Actually, I remember going on FAMs where I wouldn't even look at the itinerary. I'm like, I know I'm going to northern Spain. I know I'm going with this company. That's all I need to know.
Them. Yeah.
And then people would be like, what are we doing tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. What are we doing today? But there is an enjoyment to that because you don't have all those pre-expectations and things like that. So now with Travefy, so they're able to do their invoicing now. They're able to send their itineraries, and they're able to have messaging with their clients with those real-time updates on flights. They do require the Wi-Fi to get the real-time updates on flights, right?
Correct. Yep. So you'd have to have turn your or collecting data, or not collecting data, but data turned on, or Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And, and that's up to your client, whether or not they want it. Some of them will, whether it's turn on data, or they're going to just connect to the Wi-Fi at the airport to get those. Crazy as it sounds, a lot of times with Travefy, I found I always got the updates before the airline actually notified me, which I loved.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that happens to like all of us at Trevfy. We're like, oh my God. And it's happened to me multiple times. And or one time it was a gate notification or a gate change. So I saw it in Trevfy. So I started like moving to the next gate and everyone was just staying there. And I'm like, I'm going to find out if I'm right or wrong. But of course it was right. And I was like, yes, I got a seat, good seat in the new gate. Let's go.
Right? That part of it's awesome. I love when you land, you turn on your phone and then you get the update. Your gate is, and I'm like, sweet.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so coming up, we are going to be working together. You're putting on a new agent boot camp, and I get to be a part of it, and I'm super excited.
I know. We're so excited to have you. It's going to be really, really fun.
I can't
more
wait.
about it? Should we release all the information?
Well, I think we should.
Okay, so here you go, everybody. So this is actually our second annual. So we did this last year, where new agent bootcamp. So I will say this is geared towards newer agents. However, I still think a lot of this is going to be really helpful for if you've been in the business for a while, because there's going to be a lot of nuggets that you're still going to get that is going to be helpful. But there's just so many new agents coming into the industry. So we're like, how can we put something together to help? So what I love about this is we integrate Travefy Academy and Travefy. Now, Travefy Academy is we do webinars. We have a podcast, which we're actually releasing. I'm releasing it tomorrow. So by the time you hear this, it will be, if you go to the Lounge podcast, you can hear the podcast episode with beautiful Glenda Beagle with us. It's so good. It's perfect timing for it to be released. But what's really cool, though, is that we have with Travefy Academy, where we just do pure educational content. So we don't really talk about Travefy. We just talk about different things in the industry, like best practices, marketing, sales. So the first day, which will be July 12th, we're going to have 3 sessions, and one of them is Glenda's. And it's going to be different things from, things to set up, best practices, again, for setting up, a profitable business. And then we're going to have another session that's talking more about how to find your specialization or your niche in the industry. And then the last one, the saving the best for last here, is building customer relationships for sales success with Glenda, which is going to be really awesome. I'm excited for that.
I am super excited. And yes, I'm definitely geared towards that newer to the industry. But I will say the more I've been working on my presentation and things like that, there is something in there for everybody who just wants to get better at sales, who wants to have more confidence in order to be able to get people to say yes and things like that. And I've spent like the whole last week, I'm just waiting to get it back from my editor, which AKA is my son. I've just put together a PDF that I'm going to be giving out during that session. Basically the sales tips I've learned are the essential lessons I've learned from almost 2 decades of selling travel. And so it is the things that I hear the most from travel advisors, or that I don't want to say make me cringe, but when they start to explain it, I'm like, no, that's because of this. And it's just the smallest little tweaks that can have the biggest difference. So I've put it all together into one place. And I'm going to be releasing that at Travefy's New Agent Bootcamp. That'll be at the end of my session. So yes, you're definitely going to want to come check that out.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And
that's
then,
cool.
Okay, can I confess?
Yes.
And I'm going to do this on my podcast. I need to redeem myself, because when I got off the recording from yours, I'm like, I feel like such an idiot, because you asked me what was my favorite travel movie, and I said My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I meant My Life in Ruins. It was still the same actress, but she was a Greece tour person, everything else. But I still remember those freaking shorts I was wearing in like the 100% incline on my treadmill as I was preparing for my Greece fam. But yes, it was Nia Vardalos in My Life in Ruins. But I'm like, that does not sound like the right movie. And then, so I Googled it afterwards. And I'm like, oh, I feel like such an idiot.
You're like, oh, yes, I know
right?
Those. Oh, yeah. No, that's so funny. So maybe I'll have to remember to put that in the show notes and be like, edit. She said the wrong answer.
We do not like pop quizzes. Do you understand now why I had blood pressure issues being interviewed by my doctor?
I would be the same. I would be the exact same. I do it to people all the time on these podcasts. And then I'm like, if the roles are reversed, I'd like freeze. I'd be like, I don't know anything anymore.
And the irony is, I am a
sure.
big fan of the Lounge podcast. I knew those questions were coming. And
You
when you went to
knew.
ask me, and I'm like, poof, everything went blank. And I'm like, that's right. She asks questions. Crap.
Yeah. I snuck up on you. I love it. One other thing I have to mention too before I forget is with the New Agent Bootcamp is the second day. So day one. So you round us out for day one, which sounds like awesome times. I'm really excited to hear that. But on the second day, now this is where like anybody listening might actually really want to join this because it's all Travefy focused. So the second day we're gonna have 3 different sessions where we talk about how you literally get yourself set up with Travefy. So even if you're already a Travefy user, this will still be really helpful. But we're going to talk about we'll break it up into different sessions. So one is building like a proposal itinerary, and then another session will be about how to utilize that CRM side. And then we're going to talk about the website builder, the last one. So just to note that especially since we talked about pages and creating landing pages, that might be really helpful to check out. So that'll be just the following day.
And if I'm not mistaken, there is a bit of a break in between each of your sessions, right?
There is, yeah. So
Okay.
there's about an hour break, yeah, because it usually starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, or it's 11 a.m. Central Time the day before on Wednesday, the 12th. But yeah, and then it'll wrap up by 3 p.m. And actually, I forgot to note something else. We do a virtual trivia happy hour at the end. So you can join us at 4 p.m. Central for Travel Trivia Happy Hour, which is really fun, and you can win prizes.
That's awesome. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a pro tip. I want you to block off those 2 days. One, because day one is just awesome. That's where I'm hanging out with absolutely other fabulous speakers. But 2, on day 2, I want you to block that day off your schedule. And before you start making all the reasons why you can't, just do it. And then after you've done the one session, go through and do a mock version. While it's still completely fresh in your mind, take that hour break in between and replicate what you've just learned, what you've just taken notes on, and things like that.
That's an excellent idea. I love that. That's really smart.
I am such a hands-on when I do things. I've got to do it in order for it to stick. Because the other thing is if you don't take action, you never implement. And so if you take that hour break that's in between and you actually take some action and get in there and be like, oh, well, this isn't so bad. Or you're like, wait, I'm struggling with this. I might be speaking out of turn, but is there a possibility that they can ask a question at the end of the sessions?
Yeah. Yep. So we'll have Q&A. Yeah. So that's the nice thing. And so we also make sure that when we do, especially for the Travefy ones, we always make sure that we have people in the background answering questions. So we try to get to all of them. It definitely does happen sometimes. Like if you ask a question in the last 2 minutes and we still have a lot, then maybe, but at least our support team is always there and ready to help out afterwards. But yeah, that's one thing we really try to get to all the questions, even if we don't vocally answer them during it, we'll just still be someone in the chat, helping to answer them.
And anytime you're starting to do things with tech, maybe I'm starting to get to be of a certain age, but I find if I don't start implementing the first piece, by the end of the day, it feels like a drink out of a fire hose.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take that first hour and you implement what you did in that first hour, just make up a mock file, make up mock clients, a mock destination, but kind of plot out what you want to do before you even start the day. Just know that you're going to do John and Nancy Smith going to Rome and Greece, and they're going to do this cruise. Pick out a handful of things that you want to put on there, write it out on a piece of paper, and then attend the first hour. And then in that break in between, start working through and actually building it out in your Travefy account. Give it a good test, because then you're right there. You're in the thick of it. And because you block that day out, you're not going to get distracted by the other things going on. You're just going to be focused on that. And then if you have that ability, which it sounds like you do, to be able to kind of pop those questions into the question box, it helps remove some of those blocks, because otherwise tech can be one of those things that hold you back from moving forward. And then you end up sending out the supplier's itinerary rather than your own.
No.
Do not send the suppliers in itinerary. It does not matter how beautiful they did it, how anything. it's got their stuff on it. Don't send it. Always, always, always make sure everything has your name and your name alone on it.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, it is really easy, but I will say that, yeah, it does take I always feel like it takes maybe 1 to 2 itineraries of you having like even just playing around, but it really helps if they are kind of real, or you have like an idea of what, like replicating an itinerary maybe you did one time or something. And that's how you really learn it. And so it's a really perfect time to learn that. And so that's fantastic advice. I love it.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to link up in the show notes the link to attend this, but also to go to artofsellingtravel.com/find Glenda. And I'm going to link for you anywheres that I'm going to be doing online webinar or like online trainings, like what I'm doing with this boot camp, or when I'm headed to Pennsylvania in the fall, things like that. So that way, you know where to find me, so you can come and hang out and we can be friends, and you can just participate in all of that. I'm super excited to get back out on the road and start doing more travel that way. Other than that, I'm also going to link up. I think I might actually have an affiliate code for Travefy, so I'll make sure I pop that in the show notes for you as well. If people have other questions, how can they find you?
Yes. So here's the cool thing. We have we say support is a feature. It is one of the main features of Travefy. So if you just go to travefy.com/support, you'll be able to access everything and see how to like email us, chat us. But if you have an account, you can actually live chat our team in there, which I think is the best way. Or you can also just reach out to us via email at professional@travefy.com. And then if you ever want to do like a training or a demo, you can also schedule those at any point and do a live one-on-one with one of our team members at travefy.com/support. So there's a lot of things available to you. So we're always, and the thing is we're always happy to help. If you want to go off and do things on your own, you can, but also if you want more hands-on and speak one-on-one with somebody, we offer that too.
That's fantastic. Okay, so we're going to see you guys all live at the New Agent Bootcamp, and the date for that again for them
is July 12th through the 13th. And so yours specifically will be on July 12th at 3 p.m. Central.
3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain. That is when I will be there. I am super, super excited. I've been working on this for quite a while, guys. You are going to love this session. My only problem is trying to make it short enough.
I know, because you could be, yeah. Every time we do this, especially like yours is going to be, there's so much good stuff in it that it really could be like its own day of things.
Right?
Maybe that'll be the future one.
One
day
event. One day we will live the dream, and it will be an all day of me.
I love it. Sounds like a good time.
Fantastic. Until next week, guys, we will chat with you later.
Thanks.